Hello everyone and welcome to Championship Review for Week 12. A week of comeback screamers, a lot of talking points and a lot to break down, so let's get into it. So let's begin on the South Coast. First game of the weekend saw Pompey stay bottom of the table as Sheffield Wednesday came from behind to take the 3 points. It was a much improved first half compared to the Cardiff loss for Pompey. However, a complete failure to control the game in the second half led to the loss, and yet again a lack of consistency throughout the 90, and yet again an inability to hold on to leads. That's the fourth time we've dropped points from a 1-0 lead this season. That's 8 points from a possible 36 for Portsmouth. So far we're on track to be relegated in a pathetic manner, quite frankly, but there's still time for Messino's men. And I think that sacrifices have to be made for that to happen. One of those might be switching to a 4-3-3 from a 4-2-3-1, because I think that often we're overloaded in that midfield and we might have to sacrifice a 10, move Lang out onto the right and then go with the 3 midfield. But I mean, we haven't seen Mox on in what feels like years. Kamara is just not playing and back's not great. Potts is incredibly good though, which is a huge positive in a pretty dire season so far for Pompey. Both sides managed 9 shots, however Wednesday's were more clear cut and they had the greater possession in both halves. It was a huge win for Danny Roll's side to fire them up the table and away from the relegation zone with their second win of the month. It was a much deserved one too in a pretty poor quality game. Both of Wednesday's goals were the sparks of quality, especially with the absolute screamer from Smith. What a hit from him. And as much as it pains me to say, as a Portsmouth fan, I just can't see 3 teams at this moment in time that are worse than us. And to put it quite simply, we're conceding too many and we're just not scoring enough, and that is just asking to get relegated. So improvement needed for Pompey, although it was an improvement off the Cardiff game. But Wednesday, hugely positive result and excellently nullified the hosts through the wings in the second half, particularly with Windass and Musaba key to the creation. At 12:30, Coventry came from 2-0 down at half-time to win 3-2, getting their 3rd win of the season and moving out of the relegation zone. It's been an incredibly tough start to the season for Coventry and they've been nowhere near good enough so far, but this does feel like it could be a turning point in their season. A much needed win for Mark Robins, and it was also a deserved win. They were the dominant side even in the first half, which they lost 2-0 with almost double Luton shots and 60% of the ball. They just weren't clinical enough in that first half. And then it was an incredible second half from Coventry, utter domination with 71% of possession, 15 shots and 3.05 XG just in the second half. But it was an utter collapse from Rob Edwards' men, and Rob Edwards, he quite frankly looks like a broken man. 11 points from 12. And it looks as if they may have turned a corner with that derby win against Watford, but it looks like they've sort of just papered over the cracks with that win. 2 consecutive defeats now, and Luton are on track to finish on 42 points, which last season would have put them 23rd in the table. So when do we honestly start including Luton in this relegation battle? It is early on, but unless form picks up, they need to be in that conversation. And I'd be interested to hear from Luton fans in particular on this. When's it time for Rob Edwards to go? I think Coventry's first goal was good, but probably not marked well enough from Luton. And as for Victor Torp's goal, wow, what a shot. Sims to seal the victory. Overall, a top performance. Fantastic performance in particular from Ben Sheaf, completely controlling the midfield. The bench as well had a huge impact with a goal and assist from both substitutes, and Binks was so important too. Huge confidence boost for the Sky Blues, and the opposite for Luton. Quite alarming quote from Rob Edwards post-match was him saying that he doesn't know what he's going to do on Friday, and that's probably not something that you want to hear from your manager. Of course, they can kind of look to the referee to blame, and there was quite a few offside shouts in there, and obviously Holmes' second yellow, but I think Holmes can see that the ref is giving out so many yellow cards that something like that will go for a yellow, and I think he needs to be more sensible that, if I'm being honest. And I also think that Coventry still were much the better side, even if they hadn't got the man sent off. So another comeback at home park as Plymouth came from 3-0 down to draw with Preston. The hosts found themselves 3 down in under 50 minutes through Lee's Loney Greenwood strike after Grimshaw's parry. Preston then doubled their lead before half-time through, oh god, how do you say this? Frokja Jensen. Yep. That's how you say it. It's not. And then Potts made it 3 early on in the second half, leaving Argyle with an absolute mountain to climb after a really poor showing. Caught in possession too often and complete lack of clear-cut chances despite having 62% of the ball in the first half. Rooney's men were inspired to turn this around, and that's exactly what they did. The use of the whip and relying less on the central areas for attacks. 2 goals coming from 2 crosses. The change in style allowed to involve Ballymunba more and overlap using his strengths, who crossed the ball for the second goal to Andre Gray, who also looks very solid. I feel like this is the game which neither side will be particularly happy with. Obviously Plymouth kind of have to be happy with it coming from behind, but it still wasn't a good showing. I think Preston overall were probably the better side with more clear-cut chances. The result puts Plymouth on 12 points from 12 games, averaging 1 a game, which would put them on 46 points, and currently they're 1 point off the drop zone. Preston meanwhile sit higher in 16th with 14 points, on track for 54 points, and they're also unbeaten now in 5 games. So now a look at the other games in the Championship. Bristol City 0, Leeds 0. Leeds absolutely should have won this game with 1.18 XG to the City's 0.16. Complete domination in possession as well, but fair play to Bristol City for holding the visitors to earn a huge point. Watford 1, Blackburn 0. Good response to the 2 defeats in a row for the Hornets, with a big win against in-form Blackburn, and probably just about deserved it over the 92, with 2.03 XG to Rovers at 1.44. However, the goal did come from a penalty. Burnley 0, QPR 0. Very similar story to the Leeds game. Burnley completely dominating with 75% possession, 22 shots and 1.20 XG, but somehow couldn't find the back of the net, keeping both sides in the positions they found themselves in at the start of the day. Second from bottom and second. Derby 1, Hull 1. Both goals came within 9 minutes in this one, and the visitors Hull, who led first, will probably feel they deserved to win the game with 58% possession, 1.08 XG, but the spoils were shared at Hyde Park. Sheffield United 2, Stoke 0. A good response from Wilder's men after losing 2 on the trot to Leeds and Borough, and it was a reasonably comfortable affair too for the home side. They had the majority of possession and created plenty of chances. However, Stoke did have quite a few decent opportunities, but nothing went in. Sunderland 2, Oxford 0. This one's similar to the Sheffield United one, a comfortable display from the home side, keeping them top of the table. Isidore back on the score sheet again. Meanwhile, Oxford are without a win in 7, and it looks like that honeymoon period in the Championship might be coming to an end now. Swansea 0, Millwall 1. Swansea will be really frustrated to lose this one in the 90th minute to Millwall after dominating the game with 72% possession and 1.93 XG to Millwall's 0.37. West Brom 0, Cardiff 0. Yet another 0-0 draw, but Albion probably should have taken the 3 given their chances. But Cardiff keep their unbeaten run going to 5 now and move further away from the relegation zone. And at the time recording, Norwich versus Middlesbrough hasn't happened yet. So there you go, that is my review for match week 12 of the Championship. Let me know what you thought of this week so far. How did your team get on? What's your review from that? And thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Goodbye.